Hello everyone, my name is Nire, and today we're going to dive into the project file of my new song Negligent as part of my Hot Swap EP out now on Sounds of Mayhem. So for a bit of context, Negligent is the oldest song I think on the EP. I think I made it back in 2023, like the original idea, and like mainly most of it. This is not the final this is the final project because I decided to mix and master the EP on a separate project with stems because I never done that before. So I just wanted to try out how it would be like if I mix and master like the whole EP together on like a same session, if you will. So this might sound a bit different from the final version that's out, but we're gonna go through the other project file where I mix and master anything. Yeah, so let's get right into it. I think we're gonna start with the intro because yes, I think that's like the first thing you hear. So in the intro itself, so if we like stop the processing, it's just like a random drum loop if you like unwarp it. So I just like match it to the tempo of the song and then make this, of course. So then I think I'm just EQing a bit of the lows, dynamic tube, and stab. Stab is like a multi-band transient shaper, amazing tool. Not only for like drums, I mean for drums it's amazing, but I think for basses, if you mess around with some of the basses, it's really good. I think it's the best transient shaper in the game because it's just multi-band, so you can just select like, maybe you want like the tops to be like have a higher transient or be like tighter, so then you can like control the dynamics of a sound with this. So it's very useful, very cool, very worth the price too. It's not too expensive for what it does. Then we have parallel convolution. I don't use this rack anymore. I think I just did this for this specific case. Yeah, usually my reverbs go on parallel. I think I like to have control over anything if I can. So usually I would just, instead of having like the reverb and mix it in with the dry wet, I would just pour it on parallel and then just control the volume. In this case, I think it just helps the sound like not lose quality. I think usually when you put a reverb on a sound, you kind of get lost. Even if you mixed it in, you kind of lose like the quality of the sound, of the original sound, of the dry sound. So I think it's just a very good way of like just mixing and like reverb that you want. And depending on the case, I think most cases just works better because then you can EQ it differently and like maybe with the lows, maybe with the highs. Maybe you want it to like a resonant peak on the reverb, you know. I think that's why I did it. And to add space, I was just doing this, like the dry signal with nothing on it. And then the reverb signal. See, like it's way cleaner to me, I think, and then I can just EQ it and it has a gate and everything. So then multiband compression, I prefer this over OTT. I think nowadays I just use OTT like not artistically, but like when I want to get a specific sound. But if I want to do like the compression side of things and make things tighter, I like very girthy, I usually go with multiband compression, which is just the multiband compression preset on Ableton, on any Ableton version, I think, unless you're on like Ableton 3, in which case why. So yeah, it's just a multiband compression preset. It comes stock with Ableton. So yeah, and then I just mix it in just to kind of bring it up. And we have an EQ, then more compression. And since this is like a very atmospheric intro, I didn't want the drum to be like too present, so I just cut it, and then also have a write afterwards, just to keep it varied. Kind of have a philosophy when it comes to like writing music. I can't just repeat a section. Usually every 8 bars I need to change something. But I think it's a very good way to keep your music interesting, because like if you copy paste a section, like straight up, I think people, why would you listen to the new section? I think there's so many like paths a track can take. So yeah, I usually just try to keep it fresh, keep it evolving. I get bored very easily too. I can't have like the same thing going on in this 16 bars long, you know? So yeah, there's nothing on the bass. I think there's just like this very reverbed version of the main bass. I think this maybe shows better the example that I had about like not losing the character of the sound, right? Because like if you hear this, like without the delay, right? Like if you only had like the Valhalla, which is usually at 100%, right? You had like reverb at 100%, and then you mix it in with the like dry sound, versus like not having the dry version, I guess. It kind of just keeps that character of the sound, and that's why I usually like to have my reverbs on parallel. Delays, it really depends on like the context of it. But yeah, usually my reverbs always on parallel. I think it just works better, and I got used to it. So yeah, without anything. Just a random thing from the bass, a bass from the drop, and then EQs with nothing fancy, honestly, just to kind of like tease the sound of the drop, so when the drop hits later, you kind of don't feel weird, doesn't feel like out of place, you know, because you already heard that. So I think that's I really like the idea of like the philosophy of the listener, or like the psychology that goes into like making a song, you know, like having, like for example, we'll get to the build-up later, but like having the drop sound kind of just fade into the drop, almost like a teasing in a way. I don't know. I just really like the aspect of like psychology when it comes to like making music. I don't know. It's really cool for me. I'm a nerd, so maybe that's why. Anyway, yeah. So we have this. Then we have this melody. It's just like it's one of the bell preset. I never use presets. I usually use design stuff myself, but throughout the years I've been just using more presets to get the vibe working instead of having to design something from scratch, even though I love sound design. So we have this like phase plant patch. I think I didn't even touch it, just added reverb and delay and compression and what is saturate, just like a clipper just to make it louder. Then we have phase plant again. I think this is just another, yeah, this is like another like bell taking more of like a lower section of the frequency spectrum. And then we have this that's more spacious, you know, like at the end of the day these are being like mixed together, and I think they're like each one of them is just like taking like a role when it comes to the like the actual bell, like if you listen to them separately, of course. Like they're complementing each other, and you could say like, oh, this is one bell, but I think just having like one in the middle that's like higher, then one in the lower frequencies that's maybe drier, and then another one that's like on the stereo field more spacious. Like everything is just like covering parts that so it feels full, you know what I mean? Usually I see a lot of people, and I did this back then when they just layered sounds and layer a trillion sounds that are just serve the same purpose. So I think just thinking about the purpose of a sound when you're working on music will help you be more effective writing music, you know? Like, as I said, like, if you listen to this, you could say, like, I'm just gonna throw a bell and that's it. Or maybe it's not working. Also happened with, like, basses and drops. Or maybe your mixdowns, you feel like everything is too cluttered because, like, you want every element to, like, be at the center and have, like, this, like, main element. You know, maybe I'm just going on a weird path and talking about this. But, yeah, I think just thinking about purpose and how each sound has a purpose will, like, help you in the long run to be able to get cooler results, you know, I think, in my opinion. So then we have this, which is like the main like melody from the intro. Again, as the psychology of like we're putting it in the background, so then when it hits your ears, when it comes to the intro and build-up, it doesn't feel off. But you're basically just like planting a seed in the listener's head that like, oh, this is coming. But then when it actually comes, it doesn't feel weird, you know? I think this is just like a sound design session that I had laying around. I usually do a lot of my sound design mud pies. I think a lot of people call it mud pies. But yeah, this is just a mud pie that we're gonna go through. I think this is the mud pie. I found the session. I don't know which specific sound it is because I think it's like processed and has a lot of reverb. But I think I was just messing around with this like weird spectral plugin that I found, and I told Skybreak about it, and we kind of just got on a call and did some cool sounds with it. That's what it's called, like Skybreak Reafear, which is like this the plugin name. Call, I don't know, you know. So call because we were calling at the time. So yeah, I think if you listen to this. I think, okay, yeah, actually, I think this is the session that kind of just, the whole song revolves around. I think I just kind of found a different section of it and got this, like, melodic, like, choir sound. I don't know how to explain it, but I will get to that. So then I think most of the heavy lifting on, like, this intro and the start is, like, the ambience. Like, if we solo this, you know. So again, each sound, or I guess the pads in this case, they are serving a purpose. So you have the rees, regular rees, I think. Yeah, just 9 voices. It's like some shimmery for the higher frequencies. It's almost like a distance. So yeah, it's just, I think back in the day I did a lot of like layering of like ambiances to create these very dense landscapes. Like I think, and this is doing the heavy lifting. Like this is the whole intro. Like if we remove all the ambience, you know, versus it just like is like immersed you in that world that I wanted to create. So yeah, then we have the effects. I think, wow, there's so many little effects for this. I think I added more in like the mastered version, but yeah, so noise, just basic noise as it says, and then the Gashimmer symbol transition 16 by most used sample ever. I have this on literally every song since like day one. My goat. Anyway, let's go to the build up / verse, I guess. So then we go into, I think I did this was like a, we have like this reverse reverbed tail thingy. So then it goes into this synth. So we have this. Ring sounds like this. Oh Jesus. Just EQ, reverb, just adding space, and then we have this other one. Again, serving almost like a lower mid layer, you know. So we have this, and just repeats over time. I think the intro just goes dan 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 dan. So over time. So then we have this, which is the, I guess in this like part, in like to switch the build up. But it was like almost like a teasing, again, the drop sound in the build-up. We have some canotto, claps, some rides, some drums in the build. I'm doing this. I think people need to do this more, where as the build-up builds up, you kind of like start high passing, because like you start having a lot of like elements going like, how do you say this? I think just adding more contrast and making the sections different will help you out to make your drops hit harder. And it goes like, I think it's just a vocal I found. And it goes like, so this is a very vintage vocal. I think I found it through this guy called P-Bird. He did like this compilations of old samples that you got on CDs and stuff. I bought it before I knew they were like really easy to get a hold of. Anyway, so I kind of just like categorize them and give names to the ones that I thought I could use one day, and one of them it is this one. So I did EQ, then some, and it goes like, just Dr. Rosie rack, and then, and it goes like, pretty sure this is like a Tynan rack from his Patreon that I was part of back in the day, and then multiple compression, and it goes like, and we get to the drop. So the drop sounds like this. As I said in the beginning, this version, it sounds a bit different than what you are hearing on like streaming, but we'll get to that, you know. So yeah, the drop sounds like that. Drums, Eloy derp kick, very clicky, very thumpy. I wouldn't like this kick nowadays. Then we have a clap. I think it's like a canotto clap, as you can see, canotto. Then this is like a snare layer to them, and then more clap layers. So then you have like, so then we have tops, which is cymbals. I have a decapitator and some compression. I do change the mix afterwards. As I said, this project is like 2 years old. So, and then we get to the drop itself. As you can see here, this is the Skybreak Reafir sound design session that I did. So then you can go here. This should let me see the whole session, I think. Yeah, it's like the first sound. And then I just processed it like crazy to make it fit. So yeah, this is just like, it's just some weird like comb filter, spectral masking. Really cool sound that I wanted to make a song out of. So we have this, and there's a lot of processing to make it sound like that. I did go a bit overboard back then with the processing. So let's just turn off everything and see. I think, is there anything on the like the bass group? Nothing. Okay, so the main bass without any processing sounds like this. I usually take out the loads because usually I like to like frequency shift stuff around. I think I do that later here, so it doesn't like put this up if I shift it up. And then chorus. Then compressor room reverb. Again, this is like a Ableton stock rack. You have Ableton, you have this. Then this is audio effects. Oh, okay, so this is the Reafir plugin. This is like a, I don't know what this does, honestly. I don't want to touch it, so I don't want to mess it up. But this is just, again, the concept of having like the dry layer and then having like another layer on parallel that's like way more processed and like layered within. Yeah, it's almost like a spectral gate, I think. Then together I'm distorting those, and then it sounds like that. You just add that like few harmonics that are very peaky, and that sounds, I think, very good. Then we have this slapback delay. I think it's not doing anything because the mix is so low. Then compression, EQ, adding of a high end, compression again. I mean EQ and compression, EQ, compression, EQ, compression, saturation, overdrive. Really goated and underrated tool in my opinion for like bass design especially. This is a bit overkill, having like every time I added an effect I just added like I wouldn't do this nowadays. More compression, shifter, and this is like giving the almost like the melody, if you will. I usually do that. I think you can get way cooler melodies or like progressions if you just have like this bass sound and like shift it around with frequency shifter, because then the harmonics are not hitting specifically on a note, so you can get like this very almost inharmonic melody. But if you find the right spot, then you can get it, you know. So yeah. And then that's just creating like the melody on here. I think then after that we have more EQ, convolver, just adding more space. I have this align delay, which is the same thing as having the delays on here. It's just delaying the signal around 7.4 milliseconds, just to make it like off grid, I guess. You can do it by hand. I just did it like this back in the day. Nire sidechain reverb. Okay, so this is just a technique I was messing around with. It's the dry signal. And then we have parallel reverb, but then it's being sidechained like hell to the main bass. So then it just plays whenever you're not playing the bass, when there's no sound coming from the bass, right? That's what I did back then. I don't do this anymore. So then we have EQ, flat bed leg again, multiple compression, 18K cut. Just cutting very high frequencies so they don't mess around with the sound. Parallel reverb. Fuse compressor, then some saturation, and then we have Valhalla 3.5. It's just like a reverb throw, I think some people call it. So that's like the main bass processing. We have some other layers around here. I think it's just similar processing. I just looked for a different sound as a fill. Oh, it has vibrato, right? I think I saw this on like a CC, Forbidden Society stream that they did like a million years ago. They kind of just had this like vibrato on the sub. For this case, I'm using, I think, Meldis and vibrato, yes. I don't know, it just adds like that very like aspect to it that makes it not boring to listen to. And then I'm just automating like the depth and the rate. Create almost like a semi-melody, you know, with the sub. More sound design sessions and stuff. Then for the switch up. So I think I just looked for another part of the sound from the same session. You can see it's the same session. Just create a melody, you know, and then we have that, we have this. It's like a seal. This is just like a weird rack I made years ago. This is just delay and spectral and like shifting it around. And then together you get this. Sounds like almost like strings in a way. And then we have this. Oh yeah, so I kind of bring just that sound from the intro. To add that melodic aspect to it. So yeah. And second drop I think is just same ideology, same things. Yeah, just like going around switching position of the sample to get different flows. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go to the masters session project and we can see the final touches. Okay, so here we are. There's the mixing master project file. You can see these are the 4 tracks of the EP. These are not the project files themselves, they're just stems. So it's easier for me to mix them and master them. So you can see we have Negligent here, then we have Hellbound here, and then Hot Swap. So this is like the final version that kind of sounds like now, I guess. Let's see what changed. This is like the old version I had here just to like compare it. We have another kick, I think. I just made it shorter. I just didn't like that thump that it had. I like that long tail. I think it just works better when you have a very clicky and short kick. Also, so you know, I did stem like -12 or minus something dB, so they don't clip, and then you just have to clip them again, you know. So yeah, kick, clap is the same one as the original song, and then you just have this jump clap to add more like mid to a mid song. No, just kidding. I just add more mid frequencies and make it midier. And you can see this is a full bass stem. Like I didn't want to change the flow or anything, so I just stemmed it out. I guess just mix it with the whole tune differently, but I think like the sounds themselves are like pretty well mixed. I think there's nothing like happening in the intro apart from I guess this like crackle. I think we have some Valhalla room here for the transition. I think I just added this melody with Diva just because I wanted to add a bit more depth to the sound. And these are also like very basic stems. I didn't stem every element. I just stemmed melodic, effects, bass, drums. Because I didn't want to like overthink it, you know? So then we have intro. It's pretty much the same. I think with this, I think I just like stretched it. I could be wrong. Maybe there's like another version later. Maybe I did another session with that I changed a few of the sounds and this is like the final, you know. But it's nothing too like different, you know. So I think the most changes happen in this project. So yeah, so we have effects. I think I have like this sustain that I added, or I think it was part of the original project that I'm just like again teasing in the intro. The main thing that I think kind of gave it the drop, like it's like grittiness to it, is this like crackle. I think this crackle should work. Yeah, so there's this crackle like sound. I think it adds like a lot of like texture to a drop that usually didn't have it. So if we remove the crackle sound effect, I don't know, there's something missing to me, and then if you add the crackle, it just has a very like gritty vibe, I guess, like crunchy sound to it. So yeah, this is just Meld. This is like an Ableton 12 synth, but then you have this crackle mode, and it's very cool because you can like control the tone of it, of the crackle and the density, and then I just added a few of my things, so just to make it wider. The tone, I think it's pretty nifty, especially because I always love to use like vinyl crackle noises. I was getting tired of having to use the same samples every time. I was too lazy to like get new ones. So it's really handy like rack that I have. Then we have, I think I just wanted to make it even crunchier, so I just added a redux. And then EQ, then some OTT and compression. Then we have the vocals, which I think I just added some echo to it. Oh, I think I did it on here. For the switch up, I think it just didn't pay off to me. Like that semi buildups to that section. So I was like, how can I add more energy to this, because it's lacking that energy. So I just copied the bass stem, and then I think I just distorted it like crazy, and I make it very stereo. So like without anything, you can hear it's literally the same as. But what I did here now is like, I think I just boosted the sub, then a filter, and I think I just wanted to add noise and amp, so I just cut the highs so then they don't like sum up over time, you know. Then erosion, which is adding just one noise, amp, and then compression, distortion, more EQ, and then I kind of just like took that crackly, hissy kind of noise aspect of it and just took the highs of it, and then just like layered it. And that adds like a lot of energy, in my opinion. Then we have a sustain. Yeah, so this is just like noise, just layering noise so it works better. I think this section right here, I just wanted to use this. I think it was because I think Kerosene used it on like their DUBSTEP track. So I just looked it up and I found it. And I just wanted to use that. So, symbols. Same symbols as before, just mixed a bit differently, and some like limiting on the high end, and that's pretty much it. And I think I added this this rattle, a tambourine rattle, sparkle kind of sound, you know? That kind of complements the like crunchy, very, I don't know, it's a bit crushy, it's almost like this grains, this like, I don't know, it's a very weird feeling, but I just thought it added to that vibe that I was going for with this track. So, and it adds variation, which I talked about earlier. After that, I added a breakdown. I just thought that I wanted to do something different for this breakdown, because if not, this song structure would be the same as Hot Swap and like the Neo Chronicle app. So I didn't want to have 3 songs that have like the same structure. So I tried to add a different breakdown. So I added it just here because it kind of came up to me later. So this is how it sounds like. So we have this sound right here. I don't have to. So yeah, we have this like very distant. I don't know why. I think I was just So yeah, I kind of like doing this weird trick, I guess, where I'm just FMing a sound wave with another sound wave. But the thing is, yo, Nire from the future here. I'm just gonna do this quick explanation because I didn't like the way I explained that synth on the breakdown. So let's say we have a sine wave in F0. If you put it higher pitch, more oscillations, that's how pitch works. Okay, so now what happens if you go the other way around? What if you bring it down to like 2 octaves? So it's like F minus 2. You can see that the oscillations is still there, but it's so slow that you can't hear it because our ears can only hear starting from 30 hertz, I think. So what I did for the synth on the breakdown was to just bring it down to that very, very low oscillation level, I guess. And then I'm FMing it with a very, very high sound. And what that's gonna do is gonna get the pitch from the FM, but since it's so low, you're gonna just get that movement from the oscillation. So it's almost like you're getting the movement out of the pitch, if in a sense, right? So then like you can hear the effect even better if we bring it up in pitch. Like if we bring it very, very, very low, you can see that it's so slow that the only thing that's kind of making the movement of the sound, that pulsating effect, is because it's so low that the oscillations themselves are controlling the volume. If we go even lower. So yeah, that's how I made the philosophy behind the synth on the breakdown. Then I'm snap heap. Some stereo, distortion, reverb. I kind of just wanted to do like a very, in a weird way, I wanted to make a very melodic like counterpart and very, I guess, inspired by like a lot of like the Nire stuff that inspired me a few years ago. So I think back in 2022, I was really getting into Nire production. I was very passionate about it. I remember I asked Lydian, there's this song he has with Azalea called like Selenian, and he had like this in this intro, he has like this very deep, spacious like bass. And I just straight up asked him like, yo bro, how did you make that? That's insane. Like the texture and the space is insane. And he tells me, he goes and says, I just put reverb on the sub. Back in the day, I was like, what the hell? How did you do that? That's illegal. So I kind of just wanted to try it out. But then I realized that maybe, I don't know, I think I never would have guessed that that was the way he did it. So I guess that this is just like a callback. Messing around with that and trying to make this very deep atmospheric like low bass line. So we have like this sound right here that's very spacious, saying in the high end, and then we have like the slow end. But yeah, as you can see, like if we bring this up, this is just my usual sub patch, and I just added reverb, and it creates this very eerie this creates this very deep like landscape that you can't get otherwise, you know. And if you're thinking like, Nire, how are you gonna play this live? You're gonna phase cancel and stuff. Who cares? Who cares? Sounds fucking amazing. Sounds fucking cool. Who cares if it phase cancels? I make music for fun. I don't make music to play it out live. So that's my answer. So yeah, just try different stuff. Don't believe like the production myths or like production rules they've told you, like stereo sub, reverb on the sub, like phase cancellation. I don't know. Try to make the rules so you can get like really cool results, you know. I think you're kind of limiting yourself if you follow those rules. Just mess around and maybe you find a really cool thing that even though like every rule you've heard tells you that you don't do that, but if it sounds cool at the end of the day, just do it. Let's go back. So yeah, so they kind of together, they just make this very eerie, spacious vibe. And I think for this, I kind of just wanted like a call and response between like the hits and some basses, I think. So I just did. Yeah, just trying to create like a vibe. I guess like a very confusing like, where am I? What is this? Kind of vibe. And then the piano, it's playing on this section. It's just like a song that I have, and it didn't make it. Like I found it on this website called Samplet, which is just like a sample roulette, if you will. It's almost like going into like a vinyl store and getting like a random vinyl and sample that. It just gives you random songs that then you can use for sampling. And I found this track called like Monday by Ludovico, and it sounds like this. I took that and kind of just sampled it and tried to like manipulate it so it sounds completely different. So I just had like here, I EQ'd it. I put it on key, of course, and then what I did is snap heap, layered some like stuff to it, reverb, grain delay for after OTT and multiband, EQ, dual cut. This is just like a filter. The cool thing about like what I'm doing here is I'm using Chroma. This is like a plugin made by Nasco and Synth Sound. It's like a made for color bass, but I really like when I use it on anything but making a bass. So basically what it does is kind of just takes the frequencies. I'm not sure. I think it just takes the frequencies and put them on the key that you want, you know. If I have something, you know, different scale, if you will, I would put it on the scale that you want. Cool thing about this is like you can just make any sound be on key in that regard. So if we have it without, like it's cool and all, but then if you add chroma to it, you know, it's gonna take all those frequencies that are outside of the scale and put it in key, so you get this very mellow, weird, very melodic, layered harmonic sound. And I think it really works well on this other layer right here. That is kind of almost like talking to this main layer, which I'm doing the same trick, just chroma, but it's I think pitched up. Like if we remove the chroma on here, it sounds out of key, but then since chroma is making it on key, you can get so many cool results of like melodies you probably wouldn't get otherwise, you know, because you're not thinking of it. It's just automating to the closest like frequency that's on the scale. Instead of, you know, I don't know, I think just having this EP be very dark, very gritty. I think I just wanted to have like this very melodic, beautiful section on the EP. Again, contrasts really well with everything else. For this specifically, the rhythm changes here. I think that's because I'm using a shaper box on this section. And I think this shaper box is, I just chose a preset. I'm pretty sure I just chose pattern 2. So wanted to switch things up. Second drop, same thing. Yeah, just added more layers to make it more interesting, because the previous version had like, it was very dry, it was very bland, if you will. It was like not interesting enough, you know. This is like the previous version of it. I don't think even the previous version didn't have this. I don't know, I think it's a very cool way to connect the intro to the drops. Sustain. Very distorted sustain. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Negligent is part of the Hot Swap EP out now on Sounds of Mayhem. Hope you liked it. Hope you learned something from this. And let me know what you think. And if you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up on socials. I will happily reply to them if you have any questions about this breakdown or any of the other songs. Thank you so much to Sounds of Mayhem for letting me do this and releasing the Hot Swap EP. And thank you everyone for listening. Yeah, Nire out.